But this wasn't about weed. This was about the pipe. It looked like something from the book Treasure Island. He heard Madison say she saw something strange and the group got quiet for a second. Madison had mentioned seeing the yellow eyes. I saw them too, Jake said. He put his arm around Madison. You guys are too high, says Jess in disbelief. Alex accuses Jake of pranking them. Alex, shut the fuck up, the shit we seen ain't a joke. He's right, I swear I saw something too, Madison added in defense of Jake. Alex seemed scared even though he didn't truly believe Jake and Maddie. His fear was starting to scare Jessica. That looked so demonic, Maddie added. She put her head down on Jake's shoulder like a scared girl does with her date in a scary movie. Jake comforted her. With the booze wearing off, he'd had a long night even though it only been 4 hours. Seeing that totem pole on his walk, the wreck, fight with his dad, and now this creepy shit started. The four go to the bunkhouse to sleep. Jake and Maddie get a bottom bunk and lay in it together. Jess and Alex both get their own top bunk bed. Madison and Jake lay there in the quiet of the night, the occasional snore of the others in the cabin punctuating the silence. The moonlight streamed through the window, casting a silver glow across their faces. Jake's thoughts were racing, but the warmth of Madison beside him was a comfort he hadn't felt in a long time. They talked for a while, sharing their fears and their past memories of the camp. She spoke softly about her dreams of leaving this place, of seeing the world beyond the woods and the hills. Her voice was a balm to his soul, a gentle melody that soothed his jangled nerves. As they talked, the tension between them grew thicker, more palpable. They were both acutely aware of each other's presence, the heat of their bodies almost tangible in the cool night air. Jake reached over and took her hand, his thumb gently caressing her knuckles. She turned to him, her eyes searching his, and he knew she felt it too. Without a word, they leaned in and kissed. It was a kiss filled with the pent-up passion of two souls who had found refuge in each other's arms, a silent declaration of need and understanding. They moved together, slowly, cautiously, as if afraid to break the spell that had descended upon them. The rustle of the sleeping bags was the only sound in the cabin, a soft symphony of fabric and whispered breaths. Madison's hands roamed over Jake's body, feeling the hard planes of muscle beneath his shirt. He pulled her closer, his hands tracing the curves of her waist, her hips. They shed their clothes in the dark, the moon's glow painting their bodies in a ghostly light. They were one, entwined in the tight space of the bunk, the world outside forgotten in the face of their shared need. Their movements grew more urgent, a silent dance of desire that seemed to have been choreographed by the very spirits that haunted these woods. Jake could feel the pulse of the earth beneath them, the beat of a drum that matched the rhythm of their hearts. Madison moaned softly into his neck, her nails digging into his back. He knew that the others were just a few feet above them, but the risk only heightened the intensity of the moment. They were alive, together, in a world where the only truth was the touch of their skin. When it was over, they lay there, panting and sweaty, their hearts racing in unison. They held each other tightly, their breathing slowing to match the quiet of the night. For a brief moment, Jake felt at peace, the whispers of the forest lulling him into a false sense of security. But as he looked into Madison's eyes, he knew that the night had only just begun, and that the shadows held secrets that were far from benign. Chapter 5. They woke up the next morning to Jake's dad making breakfast in the clubhouse. Two others were in the bar, Farmer Paul and the caretaker of the club, Sil. I need to talk to you kids about something. Bill Crawford and two others have gone missing. Jake, your Uncle Sean is one of them. Jake thought about what happened last night and those yellow eyes in the woods. He wondered if this might be in connection to that. We were all up late partying and drinking, Jake's dad said. Then they just disappeared. None of know what happened to them. Jake was curious and wanted to know what happened. He saw Sil the caretaker sitting in the bar of the clubhouse. Sil, have you ever seen or felt something strange here at the camp? Yes, he replied. For many years the curse has been here, he said with a dazed look on his face. He was old and he stunk. He looked like he was deteriorating or rotting. He told Jake the history of the camp. The founder of the camp and his men had taken over the camp from the Native Americans. He told what is known as the famous story of the founder killing a Native American chief of a tribe and taking a skull pipe off of him that was said to make its user protected by good and evil angry at them. The pipe was known to make people have visions and make them see danger before it comes to them. The founder of the camp was eventually killed and the camp has been there for generations. Old tall tales talk about how the founder of the camp was possessed by a demon after taking that pipe, which led him to being killed by his own men. The demon has been known to terrorize the camp and was the enemy of the Native American chief that was killed by the founder. Bogey Way, a trail near the border of Pennsylvania and Ohio right outside the camp, was thought to be the ancient burial ground the natives used before they were driven out. Syl looked at Jake and demanded that he stay out of this place. Jake now knew that he and the others smoked from this ancient pipe and it awoke something that was asleep in the camp. Some evil thing that was dormant in the camp now awoken by the pipe, and now 2 people are missing and demonic animals are appearing, Jake thought. He felt the power of what he smoked from the pipe start to creep back, but in a good way this time. Farmer Paul and Jake's dad went out looking for the missing campers. Jake told Maddie, Alex and Jessica the news. They all agreed that they felt something after smoking from that pipe and had very vivid dreams the night before. Maddie grabbed Jake by the hand and said, "I know how we can really find out the truth of what we saw last night. This dream I had last night told me we should do this ritual." Jake was willing to do what Maddie wanted and he agreed. The 4 of them went to a spot to do this in the cornfield and Maddie would take the lead in instructing them on how to do this ancient ritual. They sat in a circle and each took a hit from the pipe. Maddie took the lead in the ritual. They all began to have visions and Maddie began speaking a strange other language. Jessica was freaking out, but Alex and Jake were trying to keep her calm. All of them sitting in the cornfield had visions of the demon Bogey. Jake could see him flying through the air. He looked like the Silver Surfer and he looked at him. He was the most ugly, evil, terrifying creature anyone had ever seen. Jessica saw a red devil with yellow lights for eyes piercing into her soul. Alex saw a black and white picture of a dead dog behind a TV. A picture he'd seen when he was 3 and had not remembered since, but that vision terrified him and gave him such intense goosebumps. He tried to resist the vision. Madison was still speaking this foreign language, but in her head she had a vision of bats biting and torturing her if she didn't end the curse. The Silver Surfer character had morphed into a goat-headed human-like figure with a human body and animal-like legs. It was a demon. Jake knew this. But he heard the voice of the Native American tribe leader saying, "Resist this evil force." Break from the vision. He spoke in his native language, but somehow Jake knew every word of what he was saying. He focused on the wise chief's presence and with mind resistance he was able to break free from the vision. Chapter 6. Jake's resistance had broken them out of the vision. The environment around them seemed to have changed and the sky was yellow and cloudy. The atmosphere was influenced by the evil released when the group first smoked the pipe. Madison looked at Jake. "Babe, I know how we can stop all this." He looked trustfully back at her. How? He replied. "With the Indians' help you have the power to stop this. You can kill Bogey." Jake was certainly empowered by the influence this chief had given him during that vision. The vision had both terrified and empowered him. He couldn't tell if he hated it or loved it. It was as if the Native American chief had given him the power of some good spirit that was able to battle this force's demonic energy. The force that made the founder of the camp break their peace treaty with the chief and slaughter all the members in the tribe in the dead of night. Jake looked at Madison. "I'm not sure how I feel." He grabbed her hands. "If I have you with me, I'm not gonna let him stop us." The 4 were startled by rustling in the corn as if something were back there. Jake's uncle Sean came out of the bushes, but his appearance wasn't normal. He was deteriorating and his eyes had the yellow of the coyotes. Jessica screamed, "Daddy, oh my God, what's wrong with you, Daddy?" The man was no longer the same person as Jessica's dad and Jake's uncle. He was now a monster who charged at Jessica. He tackled his once daughter and bit into her ear. With one bloody tear into the ear, undead Sean pulled back and ripped Jessica's entire face off with one tug. Jake whipped his knife out and stabbed undead Sean. This was to no avail. Jake's dad came out of the clubhouse and heard all the commotion. He knew inside the evil of the campgrounds was awake and he had a shotgun. What he didn't know was that he was going to be using it on his own brother. Bang! The shotgun blast echoed through the trees and undead Sean collapsed. His and his daughter Jessica's bodies lay next to each other and Jessica's face lay there looking like a mask. Young Alex was freaked and Madison was in shock over losing her best friend. Jake had lost a cousin and his dad had just lost his brother and niece. Farmer Paul and the caretaker came running up to the cornfield with a revolver and Paul with a shotgun. "I told you kids don't fuck with the ancient sacred things here, goddamn it, you've done awakened the curse here." He pointed his revolver at Jake's head. "No," Jake's father screamed. Sil looked at him. "You going against your oath? Aaron will go on, take your swing, not my son. It's not his fault, he didn't start this." Jake's dad, so furious about Sil pointing the gun at Jake, takes his swing. Pitcho pitcho, the gun goes off twice and Jake's dad collapses onto the ground. The three kids didn't react, they just ran. Jake took Madison by the hand and ran to cover behind the cornfield. Alex ran to his dad, Farmer Paul. Sil, the caretaker, had pointed the gun at both of them. Like Jake's father, Farmer Paul wasn't going to put his allegiance to the camp's secrets over his child's life, so he did not side with Sil. He forced them into the clubhouse and had forced them into the basement. Sil had called a council meeting to decide what was to be done with Paul and Alex. Chapter 7. Maddie and Jake had crouched in the corn and were both in shock of the losses they just witnessed. Jake was in shock of his father's death, but he had the wise chief's power with him and he knew he had to do what Maddie said and stop this. "We can't do this without Alex," Jake said to Maddie. "It's killed my father, we have no choice but to stop this, but we need to get Alex and his father out of there." Jake felt that they could not defeat this evil without the help of Alex, and that all those living people who had the vision had to be the ones to defeat Bogey. One thought came to his head. The quad. He took Madison by the hand, the two crouching and sneaking their way to the trailer park to get Jake's dad's toolkit. The whole way there felt like a dark yellow-skied nightmare, but the two had each other. The two approached Jake's dad's trailer and make their way in. It broke Jake's heart to see what this camping trip with his father had turned into, but he felt it was his responsibility to be a man for Madison, who he was falling in love with, and to break the curse of demonic evil going on in the camp. The two got the toolkit and made their way to the lower lake where the broken-down quad sat. Jake went to work, his hands moving with a newfound purpose. Madison watched him, her attraction to him growing with each twist of the wrench. He was more than just a rebel, he was a protector, a guardian of sorts. The engine sputtered to life, the roar echoing through the quiet night. Madison climbed onto the back, wrapping her arms around his waist. They rode through the trails, the bike feeling alive under them, as if it too had been touched by the ghost's wrath. The whispers grew faint, the woods once again their silent witness. But the silence was short-lived. Above them, a cacophony of flapping wings filled the sky. A flock of turkey vultures with eerie yellow eyes descended, their shadows dancing on the moonlit path. Madison gasped, her grip tightening around Jake. The birds circled them, their beaks snapping in the air, a grotesque ballet of malice. Jake revved the engine, the quad leaping forward as he gripped the handlebars. The vultures followed, their eyes gleaming with a hunger that went beyond the physical. Madison's heart raced, the vultures dove, their talons scratching at the air just inches from Jake's face. Madison buried her face in his back, her nails digging into his shirt. The quad weaved through the trees, the engine screaming in defiance. As they pulled into the clearing, the vultures broke off their pursuit, their yellow eyes fading into the night. The quad skidded to a stop, the engine idling, the only sound of their ragged breathing. Madison slid off the back, her legs shaking. "What now?" she asked, her voice trembling. Jake looked down at the pipe, the grinning skull seemingly mocking him. "We have to tell everyone," he said, his voice firm. "They need to know what's happening here. They can't know they're all in on it. The caretakers have gone crazy." Madison replied. "We don't know how many people are with or against us now." Chapter 8. Back at the clubhouse, Sil had Farmer Paul and Alex held hostage and locked in the basement. The council of senior members of the camp upstairs in the meeting room of the clubhouse were deciding what to do with them. Sil received direct messages from Bogey into his consciousness. "I say we keep them alive until the Stanford boy returns." Bogey feared that those who did the ritual would all be able to stop him if they worked together. He used Sil as a pawn to keep Alex tied in the basement and used as bait to kill Jake when he would return. The entire camp's environment became hostile after the council meeting. An angry mob formed around the clubhouse of people who wanted Alex and his father killed. The yellow-eyed coyotes had devolved into demonic four-legged creatures that patrol the forest. They brought the nooses out to hang Farmer Paul and his son Alex, but the caretaker was waiting to give the order. He was waiting for Jake and